Hello, I'm Artsy Bat Brooke, and I've been waiting a whole month to eat this. Make this video because I didn't have a phone, and so in the meantime, I had to wait until I can make this video about Jelly Gouache. And the reason I have this here because, look at this. They look like pudding cups. I was tempted to eat them when I was watching other people's videos. So, to prevent me from trying to eat the pudding, or not pudding, yes, we want to eat the pudding, not eat the not pudding. Okay, so I'm going to have the snack first, and then we're going to get started undoing and unwrapping all of these, organizing them, swatching them, and doing a piece with them. Because I am so excited. I've had these sitting here for about a year waiting to use, and I'm so excited to use them. I finally am at a place where I can use them. Okay, so I'm going to go have my snack so I'm not tempted to eat any of these, and I'll come back and we'll get some of the unboxing done. So here's what the palette looks like all together, and the order that I chose, a lot of it was just going by what next to each other sort of made sense for me. I will be getting a toothpick to mix a couple of them up. They look like they haven't quite had the best time. They were sitting in my art studio for like a year, actually more than a year now, before I opened it up. And this empty one is the extra white. So this comes with 2 whites. I didn't open up the other white just to make sure that I kept it fresh. And so yeah, that's all those. And this is what the swatch page looks like. I definitely was trying to do a little bit of having some areas with a little bit more water, but yeah, it was sort of difficult working from the lids. And yeah, I am super excited, but also super nervous to be using this because, oh my goodness, like, I can just feel how they're not quite the right consistency to just go from here to paper. You definitely need a brush full of water to really get that, so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. So I'm going to mix them up and sketch out what we're going to be painting today. So definitely with this being the first longer video that I've done in a while, there's going to be some hiccups, especially having a new phone that's recording. So sorry about a couple of the times in which it went out of focus, or I was so focused on the piece that I forgot to keep it in frame. And so it's a little bit has some kinks I needed to work out, but oh well. You live, you learn. I can't really do another take because I can't repeat that part of the painting. But anyway, so I was really enjoying using this gouache as well as being super mad at it. It took a while to really realize that it wasn't that I was having trouble with the medium. Well, I mean, I was having a little bit of trouble, but it was a lot that I think a lot of it got completely dried out. And with it being completely, not like fully dried out, but dried out enough that it made a difference. I mean, I got to a point in which I was just so frustrated at how dry it was. I just basically had to come up with a new plan to keep this moist. And so what I ended up doing is I got some sponges and I cut them so that they would fit into like the last white that I didn't end up using. So in that space, I put a sponge and I'm hoping that it will keep some moisture in. That ding was just from my boyfriend messaging me just now, and I forget that the voice recorder ends up picking it up. Anyway, I'm really hoping that little sponge will help with a bunch of the moisture so that maybe in the future I'm not going to have to like stir a bunch of times with toothpicks and water trying to make the paints usable. Other than that, once I got some more moisture in, it was a lot easier. I felt like it kept thickening up, but again, here the humidity is so low because of just being winter, and even though we had crazy weather that included rain, it seems like inside is just extremely dry. So in addition to the paints not having enough water in them to begin with, then put on top of it that everything was drying super fast. And I will say the one complaint I have at the moment is that the colors are drying a little differently than how they were on the page. And you can really see that in the background with how it ended up drying in the end. And I actually liked it better when it was dry, but it just looked so different and it was very frustrating trying to figure out how can I see the color that I mixed when I need to see it dry, but then if I give it time to dry, then my mix is going to dry out because the air is so dry right now. I mean, even if I wanted to use like a hairdryer or anything, it'd have been dry in an instant. Now, if you can see the table, that gave me so much trouble and I was getting so mad at it, but in the end, I'm really happy how it ended up turning out. And overall, I really realized that these act a lot differently than the other gouache that I have. The other gouache that I have acts more like watercolors, where I feel like these sort of acted like acrylic paint. Now, it might just be the whole dried out, but one thing that was driving me crazy was that every time I tried to do any fine detail, all the paint was just sort of absorbing into my brushes and just making them expand. So I kept on trying to get a new brush that had a more fine tip, and it just wasn't working. Half the time the paint was like almost higher up in the brush, so that any brushes that had a super fine tip wouldn't have any paint in the end of the tip when I tried to use it. And so it just ended up being, I don't know, like this game of, okay, how small can I go? okay, this brush expanded. Let's try a different brush. It expanded. And granted, some of the quality of the brushes I use for gouache is maybe not as high quality of what I use for watercolors. And that's just because I'm newer to gouache. I didn't want to invest in the higher quality brushes specifically for the gouache, but even a couple of them that seemed like they should have worked, I was still having that problem. So I'm not entirely sure what is going on there. But overall, I ended up being really happy and enjoying this process, and I also hope that you are enjoying the music that I picked for this video, because when I heard it, it brought back memories of salsa dancing with friends and this one move that I loved doing that hardly anyone knew how to do. And so I just had some fun, got up, danced around while I was editing this video. So yeah, just enjoy the music for the rest of the time, and I will be talking to you again at the end of the video. Our little dragon friend, and I'm not entirely sure if he got into the paint or if he has his own little pudding cup, but he's definitely eating it the way I like to. Random fact. Sometimes I get frustrated with spoons, so I use my tongue like he is. Though I've shown it to my boyfriend and he thought it was a straw. So tell me down below if you think it's a tongue or a straw. I'm really curious, but I am so happy with how this turned out. I was so mad at this table area earlier, and I was getting frustrated because I think even though it was all sealed up sitting for a year, I think it still was a little bit dried out. So I was having to add so much water to make it usable. And that was really frustrating me. But I ended up really loving how all of the colors mixed. I don't think I used a single color out of the actual pan except for, I think, black. Everything else is mixed, either a little bit or a lot. And I think it turned out really awesome. So I'm super happy with this. And I really hope you enjoy the process looking at the Jelly Gouache with me. I will be uploading a lot more videos again. I'm going to be doing a once a week one. I did have a poll saying Tuesdays would be an awesome posting day. If you have another opinion, feel free to go down below. If you have any suggestions, feel free to also comment down below. I keep an actual Excel sheet of all my ideas for videos. So if you comment something, I'll add it and I will get to it eventually because that list has a lot. So if you give me an idea that I like better than some of my other ideas, I might get to it even sooner. So if you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing. And I really hope you enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun doing it in the end, especially when I got this table taken care of. I had to finish it off screen because I was getting so frustrated with it. But yeah, please consider liking and subscribing. I know I said it again, but I would really appreciate it. And I hope you have a fantastic, bat-tastic day. Bye.